The African National Congress looms large in South Africa's political landscape. Founded in 1912, it spearheaded the fight against apartheid, a system of racial segregation and oppression that dominated the country for decades. Under iconic leaders like Nelson Mandela, the ANC became synonymous with freedom and hope, eventually leading the country to democracy in 1994. But decades later, and despite facing criticism and internal struggles, the ANC remains the dominant force in South African politics. In the 2019 national elections, the party secured 57.5% of the vote, marking its sixth consecutive electoral victory. This enduring support, amidst a complex and evolving political landscape, raises a crucial question: why do South Africans keep voting ANC? The answer lies in a tapestry woven from history, identity, and hope. For many, particularly those who lived through the dark days of apartheid, the ANC is more than just a political party, it's a symbol of liberation and sacrifice. A staggering 70% of South African voters were alive during apartheid, and countless families hold personal stories of struggle and oppression. The ANC, as the engine of resistance, embodies the collective journey towards freedom, fostering a deep sense of loyalty and emotional connection. Nelson Mandela, the first black president of South Africa and a globally revered figure, stands as a potent symbol of this connection. His message of unity and reconciliation, epitomized in his famous words, "Amadla Ingawethu, power to the people," continues to resonate with many. Internal ANC polls have shown that emotions, particularly feelings of gratitude and historical obligation, play a significant role in voting decisions. However, the story doesn't end there. Beyond historical ties, the ANC has actively cultivated support through social welfare programs. Millions of South Africans, particularly from historically disadvantaged communities, rely on government grants, housing initiatives, and other social safety nets. These programs, while facing implementation challenges, are often seen as tangible benefits delivered by the ANC, fostering gratitude and aligning the party with aspirations for upward mobility. This social dimension intersects with identity politics. The ANC has historically presented itself as the champion of marginalized groups, particularly black South Africans. It boasts a multiracial leadership structure and actively campaigns in townships and rural areas, aligning itself with specific cultural identities and aspirations. Data shows that the ANC garners overwhelming support from black voters, with over 80% consistently voting for the party. But the landscape is shifting. While historical loyalty and social programs remain influential, newer generations, less burdened by the past, are voicing concerns about rising unemployment, corruption scandals, and perceived inefficiencies within the ANC. Criticism of President Cyril Ramaphosa's administration and internal party divisions have also eroded some trust. The 2019 elections witnessed a decline in ANC support, particularly among younger voters. The ANC's legacy is intricately woven with the fight against apartheid, a system that systematically denied basic needs and opportunities to the majority, particularly black South Africans. This historical context casts a long shadow, with many voters expressing a deep-seated gratitude for the social programs implemented by the ANC post-apartheid. Consider the staggering numbers. In 2023, over 18 million South Africans receive social grants, a stark contrast to the mere 2 million in 1994. The Child Support Grant alone reaches 12 million children, ensuring food security and education opportunities for countless families. These programs, while not without their challenges, have demonstrably lifted millions out of extreme poverty. Personal stories paint an even more vivid picture. Take Gogo Madikani, a grandmother in rural KZN. The Child Support Grant allows her to send her grandchildren to school, a dream unimaginable under apartheid. "The ANC gave us back our dignity," she says, her voice filled with emotion. "They gave us hope for the future." This sense of gratitude translates into tangible political support. Studies consistently show a strong correlation between social grant beneficiaries and ANC voters. In the 2019 elections, for example, over 70% of grant recipients voted for the party. This loyalty stems from a simple equation. Access to basic needs fosters a sense of security and stability, directly linked to the party in power. But the ANC's impact extends beyond mere survival. Social housing projects have seen over 5.4 million homes built since 1994, creating not only shelter but also a sense of ownership and pride. This progress has fueled the growth of the black middle class, with its numbers tripling since 1994. This segment of the population, while often critical of the ANC, acknowledges the party's role in creating the platform for their success. However, the story is not without its complexities. Concerns about corruption and mismanagement of funds cast a shadow on the effectiveness of these programs. Additionally, some argue that the emphasis on social grants creates a culture of dependence rather than empowerment. Let's start with the numbers. Studies consistently show that the ANC enjoys overwhelming support from Black Africans, who constitute the majority population. In the 2019 national elections, over 79% of Black African voters cast their ballots for the ANC, a figure that has remained relatively stable over the past 2 decades. This dominance extends across ethnicities, with Zulu, Xhosa, and Sotho communities consistently leaning heavily towards the party. This isn't surprising, considering the ANC's historical association with the anti-apartheid struggle, led predominantly by Black African figures like Nelson Mandela. This legacy translates into a powerful emotional connection, with many voters viewing the ANC as the embodiment of their collective fight for freedom and equality. But the appeal goes beyond historical ties. The ANC actively cultivates its image as the champion of marginalized groups. The party's leadership itself reflects this diversity, with prominent figures from various racial and ethnic backgrounds holding key positions. This multiracial representation resonates with voters who see themselves reflected in the party's structure and feel their voices are heard. Moreover, the ANC's policy platform often emphasizes issues directly impacting these communities, such as land reform, affirmative action, and social welfare programs. While the effectiveness of these programs can be debated, they create a narrative of the ANC actively working to uplift historically disadvantaged groups, further solidifying loyalty. This alignment with identity manifests geographically as well. ANC performance remains strong in provinces like KZN and Eastern Cape, where Zulu and Xhosa communities hold significant demographic majorities. Similarly, the party enjoys solid support in townships historically neglected under apartheid, where promises of improved living conditions and access to opportunities resonate deeply. In contrast, areas with larger white or colored populations tend to lean towards opposition parties, highlighting the role of racial and ethnic identity in shaping voting patterns. It's important to acknowledge that this narrative isn't monolithic. Critics point out that the ANC's focus on identity can sometimes lead to exclusionary practices and hinder national unity. Additionally, accusations of corruption and internal leadership struggles have tarnished the party's image, leading to disillusionment among some voters. This apprehension is fueled by several factors. Opinion polls consistently reveal a lack of trust in alternative parties compared to the ANC. A 2023 survey by HSRC, for instance, found that only 34% of respondents trusted opposition parties to govern effectively, compared to 52% for the ANC. This sentiment stems, in part, from historical experiences. Voters in the Western Cape, governed by the Democratic Alliance, DA, since 2009, point to perceived failures in service delivery and racial tensions as reasons for their skepticism. Similar concerns resonate in Nelson Mandela Bay, where the DA's brief stint in power was marred by instability and allegations of corruption. Beyond specific experiences, the fear of the unknown plays a significant role. Memories of the tumultuous transition from apartheid to democracy, marked by violence and political uncertainty, create a powerful aversion to risking instability again. This is particularly pronounced among older voters who witnessed firsthand the dangers of political upheaval. This risk-averse sentiment is reflected in voter turnout data. In areas with a strong opposition presence, turnout often dips, suggesting a strategic decision to stick with the familiar ANC rather than gamble on untested alternatives. However, the fear of the alternative is not solely rooted in historical anxieties. It is also fueled by the ANC's own narrative. The party frequently portrays itself as the sole guardian of South Africa's fragile democracy and stability, framing opposition parties as threats to national unity and progress. This narrative resonates with many, particularly those who identify strongly with the ANC's historical role in dismantling apartheid. It is important to note that this fear of the alternative is not static. As the ANC's own performance falters, marked by internal divisions, corruption scandals, and slow economic growth, younger voters, less burdened by historical anxieties, are increasingly receptive to alternative voices. This is evident in the growing popularity of smaller parties and the declining ANC vote share in recent elections. Reports and studies paint a worrying picture. In 2020, the Public Service Commission flagged numerous irregularities in service delivery during election periods, hinting at resource allocation being influenced by political agendas. Similarly, a 2021 report by the Institute for Security Studies, ISS, documented cases of municipal funds being diverted to ANC campaigns, blurring the lines between party activity and public service. The tactics are often brazen. From distributing food parcels at rallies to using government vehicles for campaigning, local party structures have been caught leveraging state resources for electoral gain. A 2022 exposé by investigative outlet, Amabangani, revealed how ANC officials in KZN used public housing projects to pressure residents to vote for the party, threatening evictions if they didn't comply. This web of dependency creates a potent voting bloc. With access to basic necessities and even job opportunities hinging on political allegiance, many feel compelled to vote ANC to maintain their precarious footing. A 2023 study by the University of Cape Town found a correlation between areas with high unemployment and higher ANC vote share, suggesting a link between economic vulnerability and political influence. Corruption further muddies the waters. Despite numerous high-profile convictions within the ANC ranks, the impact on voting patterns remains complex. While some voters express disillusionment, others view it as an inevitable byproduct of the party's long tenure in power, clinging to familiar ground even amidst ethical concerns. Data from Afrobarometer, a Pan-African research network, shows a decline in public trust in government institutions, with the ANC faring no better. Yet, the 2019 election still saw the party securing a majority, highlighting the intricate interplay between awareness of corruption and voting behavior. The 2019 national elections marked a turning point. The ANC secured 57.5%, its lowest result since 1994. This downward trend continued in the 2021 local government elections, where the party fell below 50% for the first time. These numbers speak volumes, but digging deeper reveals a complex tapestry of factors eroding the ANC's appeal. Internal divisions and leadership scandals have become a persistent stain. The factional battles between President Ramaphosa and his predecessor, Jacob Zuma, have not only exposed ideological rifts but also raised concerns about accountability and transparency. Zuma's corruption charges and imprisonment further dent the party's image, fueling public disillusionment. This disillusionment translates into action, particularly among South Africa's youth. In the 2019 elections, youth voter turnout dipped to a concerning 63.1%. Surveys reveal even sharper discontent. A 2022 poll by the Institute for Race Relations found only 30% of young people trust the ANC. This generation, born after apartheid, holds the party accountable for unfulfilled promises of economic opportunity and effective governance. Disillusionment isn't just a perception, it's rooted in tangible realities. South Africa continues to grapple with high unemployment, persistent inequality, and widespread service delivery failures. The country's rolling blackouts, a symbol of the ANC's struggle to tackle the energy crisis, serve as a constant reminder of unaddressed challenges. These issues chip away at the party's narrative of progress, eroding the loyalty of even its traditional base. The ANC's future appeal hinges on its ability to navigate these turbulent waters. Addressing internal divisions, tackling corruption head-on, and delivering on promises of improved governance are crucial first steps. Engaging with the concerns of the youth, particularly addressing unemployment and fostering economic inclusion, is equally important. The party must re-earn the trust of its electorate by translating rhetoric into tangible action. So, where does the ANC go from here? Can it recapture its former glory, or will its dominance fade into history? The answer remains veiled in the mists of the future. One thing is certain, the South African electorate is increasingly complex and nuanced, demanding more than just historical legacy and social programs. The ANC's future hinges on its ability to adapt, address growing concerns about corruption and performance, and offer a compelling vision for the nation's future. Only time will tell if the party can navigate these challenges and retain the loyalty of a nation in flux. Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, share and subscribe.